So I'm going to be talking today about some of the top commodities to trade with blueberry markets, and I'm going to start that off by looking at some of the commodities that I'm interested in when I look at sort of trading the markets. Now, the top one is gold. Like gold, obviously very popular in the Forex world, very popular in the trading world, and I'm going to discuss why that is. We've got WTI Oil, we've got copper, aluminium, and natural gas. So if we go over to gold first, why is gold so popular in the Forex market? Well, the main reason is because it is very volatile, okay? So it moves very aggressively, and it can obviously give traders opportunities to have some decent rewards within the with the markets there. The other reason is the fact that it's a safe haven asset. Now, gold is often considered a safe haven asset because of its drive to rally, or what we used to see was a flock to gold once there was some kind of economic uncertainty within the market, and obviously that can lead to some increased demand for the commodity, and that offers trading opportunities. So in times of uncertainty, gold is a good asset to go and have a look at for opportunities. Obviously as well, gold is very popular from the point of view from investment, so it can often lead to us having opinions on the overall market. Where does investors see prices of gold? If we see gold rallying, does that mean that there is some economic uncertainty on the horizon? Obviously, we've had other economic factors as well. When Russia invaded Ukraine, for instance, gold prices rallied. Again, that economic uncertainty can provide trading opportunities, and that's something to have a look at. The inverse correlation to the US dollar, obviously gold is pegged to the US dollar, so if the US dollar decreases, gold price often rises. If the dollar rallies, gold often falls, and that is a relationship that's crucial if you are trading gold. Now, some other things as well. The top exporters are Switzerland, the UK, and the US, so obviously the price of gold is going to affect the Swiss franc, it's going to affect the pound, and it's going to affect the US dollar as well. So that's something to consider when trading gold. Moving on to WTI Oil then. So obviously oil, the ticker for that is US WTI on MetaTrader for blueberry markets. There are lots of different things that are good about oil that makes it a top 5 commodity. Again, volatility, very volatile market, very heavily influenced by what's going on in OPEC. So that is the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC. Okay, so you want to be looking at OPEC reports. You can find them on most economic calendars, but the announcements here really do affect what's going on in oil. Sometimes there can be restrictions on the supply of oil, which obviously then does affect the sort of supply and demand narrative there. You know, if we do see them cutting necessarily the supply, or cutting the amounts of barrels that will be produced on a daily basis, that could then increase demand because there is a lack of supply. So oil prices could surge off the back of that. Okay, there is also a correlation with the economic health as well. So often what I like to look at is when the market is in what we call a risk on mode. Okay, risk on usually meaning that the economic health is pretty good globally. We can see sort of demand increase in economic expansion, and that can obviously lead to some upside in oil. You kind of see stock markets rally in these type of environments as well. So in that time where stocks are rallying, usually we can see oil follow that path as well. Going on to some commodities that you probably don't know you can trade through blueberry markets. One of them is Copper. Now, obviously, copper surged at one point, and that was because the demand for copper was so high. And I've put here global supply and demand dynamics, and the reason why I've done that is because copper prices are obviously affected by the supply and demand dynamics. You know, changes in production levels, labor strikes, geopolitical tensions in major copper producing countries. You've got sort of Chile and Peru, and disruptions to the supply chain can impact copper prices. You may have heard a lot about the in the news, the supply chain, and you know, copper has been affected by that. I've actually seen copper prices decrease a little bit recently. It's obviously an industrial metal. It's used in various different industries, in construction, electronics, manufacturing, and you know, it will be influenced by sort of that global economic growth, like I've put here, infrastructure development, and correlation with economic indicators. Obviously, if you've got things like copper rallying, what does that mean in terms of global economic health? Does it mean that the construction's up, manufacturing's up, things like that? If that is the case, then the price of copper can obviously benefit from the need in demand there. So that's something to take into consideration. Very, very similar. Aluminium, again, is an industrial metal used global supply and demand dynamics, very, very similar. The major aluminium sort of producing countries include sort of China, Russia, Canada, and Australia. So they actually could heavily influence, if you look at the sort of the Australian dollar. You can obviously look at the CNY as well, and you know, if we do see any kind of effects on aluminium, it can obviously have an impact on things globally in Australia and China. Again, I've put infrastructure development as well. The reason why I've put infrastructure development, it can be used in various industries. It can be used in construction, aerospace, automotive, packaging, things like that. So I've put infrastructure development there as well for aluminium. Coming on to nat gas then, we actually did really well out of nat gas at the end of last year, and that was all down to some seasonal development. So you can see here I've put seasonal demand. Now, nat gas demand exhibits seasonal patterns, and you know, higher consumption during sort of winter months for heating and lower demand during warmer months. Weather forecasts, especially during winter, can play really significant roles in the use of natural gas, obviously heating, things like that, and energy costs. So it's going to be an interesting year, especially if you think about in terms of global warming and how we're seeing sort of temperatures rise globally, even throughout winters. You know, is the demand for nat gas going to start to fall, and does that then create problems in terms of the price of nat gas? Price of nat gas at the moment falling quite aggressively, and that's what we took advantage of. If you ever watched the live streams last year, we were talking about shorts on natural gas, and that was something that we developed from that seasonal analysis. Production and storage data. So natural gas prices sensitive to production levels and inventory data. Very similar to what we were kind of talking about with OPEC. We usually see Energy Information Administration with the natural gas storage reports, which provides updates on the inventories and will have a impact on the prices. Technological advances, obviously drilling techniques, hydraulic fracturing or fracking, and horizontal drilling will also have significantly increased natural gas production in certain regions, and that will obviously play in the sort of supply and demand dynamics. It's also very volatile, so good for trading, especially if we look at the sort of chart. You'll see decent trends on natural gas. So those are the top 5 commodities for me that you can work with Blueberry Markets. Make sure you head over to your MetaTrader 4 terminal, go to your commodities area, and you can check those out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.